Imagine a world where self-driving cars can recognize objects on the road, facial recognition can detect emotions, and chatbots can understand what you are saying. These are just a few examples of the incredible power of deep learning, which is a technology that has the potential to revolutionize the way we live and work. But what makes deep learning so powerful, and how do we choose between the many different frameworks available such as TensorFlow, PyTorch, and Keras? In this video, we'll explain the key differences between these three frameworks in simple terms so that even a beginner can understand the basics of deep learning and make informed decisions about which framework to use. So let's get started with TensorFlow. TensorFlow is an open source framework, which means it is easy to use and modify. TensorFlow is a low-level framework, which means it provides a lot of control over the underlying computation, but it also requires more effort to use. TensorFlow uses static graph, which means the computation graph is defined before the computation is executed. TensorFlow has a Python API, which makes it easy for Python developers to use. And finally, TensorFlow has a larger community of developers and users, which means there are many resources available for learning and troubleshooting. Next comes the PyTorch, which is also an open source framework. The PyTorch is a high-level framework, which means it provides a lot of abstraction and makes it easier to use, but it also provides less control over the underlying computation. PyTorch uses dynamic graph, which means the computation graph is defined before the computation or during the computation. The PyTorch also has Python API, which makes it easy to use for Python developers. PyTorch is designed for rapid prototyping, which means it is ideal for researchers and developers who need to quickly test and iterate on their ideas. Next comes the Keras. Now, Keras is a high-level framework, which means it provides a lot of abstraction and makes it easy to use, but it also provides less control over the underlying computation. Keras can work on multiple backends, including TensorFlow, PyTorch, and Theano. Keras is designed to be easy to use even for developers who don't have a lot of experience with deep learning. And finally, Keras is also designed for rapid prototyping, which means it is ideal for researchers and developers who need to quickly test and iterate on their ideas. Now we need to understand what are the key differences between the three. So TensorFlow is a low-level framework, while PyTorch and Keras are high-level frameworks. TensorFlow uses static graphs, while PyTorch uses dynamic graphs. Keras can work on multiple backends, while TensorFlow and PyTorch are tied to their respective backends. Keras is generally easier to use than TensorFlow and PyTorch, especially for developers who don't have a lot of experience with deep learning. Now, when to use each? So, use TensorFlow when you need a lot of control over the underlying computation and you're working on large-scale project. Use PyTorch when you need to rapidly prototype and test your ideas. That is when you're working on a project that requires a lot of flexibility. And use Keras when you need to quickly build and test a deep learning model and you don't need a lot of control over the underlying computations. And that's a wrap. We have explored the key differences between TensorFlow, PyTorch, and Keras. And we hope that this video has given you a better understanding of each framework and how to choose the right one for your needs. Remember, deep learning is a powerful tool that can help you unlock new insights and build innovative applications, but it is only as good as the framework you choose to build with. So by choosing the right framework, you can unlock the full potential of deep learning and take your projects to the next level. So which framework will you choose? TensorFlow, PyTorch, or Keras? The choice is yours and we are excited to see what you will build. Thank you.